Okay, today is Shaman. Now, I don't know very much about enhancement shamans. My shaman never went enhancement either to level or at 80, so I'm going to skip enhancement in our little preview. But as far as restoration goes, um, there's a PvP talent here to reduce damage taken in the top tier. Um, Also, Spark of Life increases healing and healing received, and of course, Focus is still there, and improved Water Shield is still there. Totematic Focus is still there, and people still won't pick it up, I assume. Focused Insight is the first that incorporates some damage spells. After casting any shock spell, your next heal is their mana cost is reduced and the effectiveness of the heal is greatly increased. Um, so they want you to weave shocks into your rotation when you're not, you know, healing every global cooldown. Ancestral Awakening and Ancestral Healing are still there, as well as Nature's Swiftness. Uh, Restorative Totems is still there. Improved Chain Heal even made it. They got rid of some of the other improved talents, but Improved Chain Heal is still there. Blessing of the Eternals is still there. Nature's Guardian is still there for PvP. Manatide Totem is unchanged. Um, Now, improved Cleanse Spirit used to be Cleanse Spirit. It gave you a better cleansing ability that removed basically anything except curses. Now they've nerfed how much stuff the spell can get rid of, and this talent basically just makes it able to also remove a magic effect. And its usefulness will be determined by how many magic effects need to be removed in the expansion or current level of play we're at. Nature's Blessings still exist, Tidal Wave still exists, and Riptide still exist. Now this is probably the best implementation of a DPS talent in a healing tree. Uh, Tauraric Currents. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. Um, your lightning bolt spell restores mana equal to 20% of the damage dealt. So weaving lightning bolts in when you aren't healing actually restores your mana. I think that's a fairly great talent and probably the best implementation of a DPS talent in a healing tree so far. Now over here with Elemental, you'll notice they put Ancestral Knowledge over here in Elemental instead of being at the top of the enhancement tree, so that now that they lock you into one tree, you can get it fairly early as Elemental Shaman. Uh, Convection and Concussion are still the talents at the top of the tree here. Call of Flame is still there. Elemental Precision is still there. Elemental Warding and Improved Fire Nova are still there. Elemental Focus still puts you in a clear casting state. Reverberation is still there. Elemental Reach still there. Elemental Oath is still there as far, and also Lava Flows, Earth, Storm and Fire, Elemental Mastery, and Unrelenting Storm. They are all still where they were. You'll notice the first half of the tree is very similar to what it is nowadays, except with less talent points spent and less talents. Um, where this tree really starts to differentiate itself is in these last few tiers here, where you'll notice Totematic Wrath. Instead of the Totem of Wrath that Elemental Shamans were basically required to put down, now this just adds a spell power buff to any fire totem that you put down. So you can put a DPS increasing fire totem down, like magma or searing, and still get your spell power buff that your party will require. Um, Now, feedback is anytime you lightning bolt or chain lightning, it reduces the cooldown on your elemental mastery, which starts at the 3 minute cooldown, of course. And you know, your next spell becomes instant cast, and your damage is increased by 15%. You gain 20% haste for 15 seconds. With the feedback, you should be able to fit about 3 of those into the average boss fight instead of just 2. Um, and here's the biggest mechanic change for elementals is lava surge, which causes your flame shock periodic damage to be able to reset the cooldown of your lava burst. And this kind of breaks you away from a very set, precise rotation where you have to weave a number of spells in before that lava burst cooldown hits. This kind of takes you out of that very set rotation for elemental, and that's what they wanted. And it'll also increase your damage because of more frequent lava bursts. Earthquake is now the last talent in the tree. They give you Thunderstorm as a baseline talent at level 10 for choosing Elemental, so they had to replace it, and they replaced it with a rather expensive AoE. Um, it's basically like Blizzard, Hurricane, Rain of Fire, etc., except it has a cooldown of 15 seconds, and it also has a chance of knocking the enemies down uh, with every tick. So the elemental shamans have been complaining they didn't have a massive AOE, and that, they couldn't do the same thing other classes were doing, where they can just blizzard for 10 seconds during the big AOE trash pulls. So here's their, chance to just sit there and channel an ability like every other class can. Um, but I really like the changes to especially restoration. I think that tree is really solid in its implementation, and so I really like what they've done with Shaman so far. Like I said, I don't really know enhancement well enough to tell you much about it. They do have some new talents here, like Searing Flames, puts a dot on the thing it's hitting, and some things like that. But I don't really know much about this tree. I do know they added a new strike at really early levels, like level 4 or 6, called Primal Strike. That is supposed to be a button you can mash before you get Storm Strike and everything, so that you feel like you can be enhancement at really low levels and have a button to press. Because before you really couldn't, press anything. You just put your weapon enhancement on and just auto attacked stuff until you started getting the actual attacks. So all in all, I love the Shaman class. I love what they've done with it so far, and I'll be excited to play it in the new expansion.